So here's a pretty entertaining one about a wife who, after 5 years of marriage, up and decides that she's no longer in love with her husband and she wants to separate, or in other words, take a break, to find something different. In other words, in her opinion, a better guy. And you're going to see how she's going to learn the hard way that in her early 30s, she's not as desirable as she was in her 20s, which is typically well, let's be honest, is physically the prime of the gals, teens and late in 20s. Meanwhile, her husband, who she's just thrown to the side of the road, suddenly is learning that he is way more desirable in his 30s, where he's coming into his own in his prime, than he was in his 20s. And she's losing it upon realizing that he has a lot of options when she wants to come back. Title: Am I the a-hole for sleeping with different women when we were separated with my wife? And shout out to Julian and the other guys that sent me this story. He says here, we were married to each other I'm 32, my wife is 32 as well, for 5 years. However, she told me she fell out of love with me and looking for something different last year. After 5 years, something tells me she was never in love with him to begin with. Probably she just wanted a wedding and a ring. Probably wanted to get married before she hit the big 3-0. Well, that had to hurt. I'm not in love with you and I'm looking for something different. Even though I tried to convince her to stay, smack, never begged, never tried to convince somebody to stay who's kicking it to the side of the road, she decided to move forward and we separated for a little over a year. I couldn't move on at first, but accepted that's what she wanted after several months. So notice this. She pushed him to the side, tossed him away like a piece of garbage, and even in the beginning, he just, he couldn't move on at first. Hard time accepting it. However, one side of me always hoped for her to come back, which she did 3 weeks ago. She told me she wanted to try things out again, which I was content to. Well, isn't that interesting? Why all of a sudden after 1 year, she wants to come back home and try things again? I thought she was no longer in love with him and wanted to find something different. Maybe, read between the lines, it isn't as easy for her to find a guy to want to commit to her. She probably could find guys that want to pork her, that want to nail her, but a relationship? No, not anymore. We started seeing a couples counselor next week with the intent of aligning our feelings and thoughts before moving in together again. Smack, you should have just divorced her. She's only back because she can't find somebody better, bro. One of the questions that was asked was if I'd been in another relationship during that time with any other women. The counselor told us honesty is the way to go from here, so I came clean. I had to go to a club to get drunk. I had a go to a club, get drunk, sleep around phase for a few months and slept with 13 women in total. 13 chicks. Now, unless this guy is making this up or he paid for it, and now you all pay for it, obviously, dates and dating and all that, but I'm talking about paying a professional. Obviously, this guy is seen as a catch. If he's nailing 13 chicks within a short period of time. I knew she was dating around, and was honest with going on dates with she was honest about going on dates with 3 different men. However, when I told her my part, she got extremely frustrated. Now she thinks we cannot get back together, but I told her we were separated and in the divorce process back then. I think it's possible to get back together now that I've talked about my dating life during our separation, but I wonder if I was an a-hole for sleeping around when we got separated. No. You had every right. She's the one that changed the terms of the relationship. She's the one that said out of nowhere, I'm no longer in love with you. I want something different. In other words, I want someone different. And broke your heart, tossed to the side of the road, and the only reason she's back is because obviously she cannot find what, in her opinion, is someone better than you or someone that she thinks she deserves. She's obviously learning in her early 30s, like I speculated. She could probably get guys that want to sleep with her, but to get a guy that she sees as better than this husband here, to commit to her and all that, no, that's not so easy, because those guys want somebody younger or they just don't like things about her. Who knows? Probably she was having an affair. Probably she had somebody already in mind, if she wasn't already having an affair and cheating, and didn't work out. So now she's back. And no, this guy should not take her back. And most certainly he should not feel bad or feel like he was the a-hole, because after a while, he started hooking up with a lot of chicks. And I do believe in the comment section, he mentions that she was his first, or he didn't have a whole lot of experience, so he wanted to see, And he said he waited several months for getting to that point. She was probably expecting it to be difficult for him, that he'd be sitting around pining for her, and she can come back home no problem at all and have all the power. Well, she realizes she doesn't have the power now. This guy's a catch and can replace her like that. And that's why she's upset. And I say, fuck her. But this guy would be a fool to take her back. This is not going to work. You don't take somebody back that tossed you away like garbage, could care less about your feelings, your emotions, and all that. So no, he's not the a-hole. And she's learning the hard way. So the hell with her. That's what I think. Now some comments. And they are good. One guy says, you weren't the a-hole. Your wife wanted to separate, but she didn't want you to sleep with any other women. Now that she realized you didn't spend the time just waiting for her, she probably understands she isn't irreplaceable as she thought. To be honest, I doubt this relationship can be saved, but it's all due to your wife and not your fault. It's not his fault. And I'm sure she probably told people it's his fault they separated or some bullshit, but no. Another one. Not the a-hole. Now you know she's gaslighting you. She thought the grass was greener on the other side, went to town on a few of the bulls in the other fields, and now is just angry that you didn't actually need her or have any trouble mounting some other cows. She gun fucked up, son. Yes, she did. And that happens a lot in these stories. The women think they got it made. They ask for open relationships. You've heard these stories. And the guys sadly go along with these things. And eventually the guy goes out and starts meeting some gals. And that's when the wife wants to terminate the open relationship policy. And the guy's like, nope, not happening. Because it's easy for a pretty woman to get guys that want to sleep with her. But it's a different ball game as they get older to guys that actually want to commit. Another one. Not the a-hole. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. She left you, not as a temporary break, but for good. And now she wants you back. She expects that you would have waited on her on the shelf without having a life of your own. That is completely unrealistic. If she were really committed to creating a relationship with you, she would have to start it from the point that you are now, not from the point of her fantasy takes her. Her fantasy being that the parting was temporary and you should have remained celibate. You did nothing wrong. And by the way, she said 3 relationships. I can't remember if she said 3 dudes she slept with or 3 relationships. And I'm sure she's lying, but regardless, they didn't work out the way she wanted. Incidentally, I know 3 couples, one of them my husband and this is from a woman. One of them my husband and myself who parted, had other partners, and then came back together and married happily. Parting means parting. Reconnecting means starting afresh, and being jealous of previous sexual partners is childish and not a good basis for marriage. Well, regardless, they should not get back together. This guy's in his early 30s. He clearly can see he's got options. He's a catch. Why get back with a woman? Think about this. Why get back with her who tossed you aside so easily? Really? And could care less about you. You think it's going to work out the second time? Nope. Another guy says, bro, do you really think you want to be with someone like that? She initiated the separation. She went on dates with, most likely slept with other people too, but you're not allowed to? What are you meant to do? Stay indoors and pine over her? Miss me with that shit? She's lucky, and you're a dummy for it in my eyes, that you gave her the time of day after her actions. Not the a-hole, but your ex-wife, I hope, is certainly one. She is an a-hole. But this guy's an a-hole if he takes her back. And one more. Not the a-hole. She left you and wanted a divorce. It didn't work out how she wanted with being single or possibly even a guy. That was the reason that she left. Now she's angry you didn't fall into depression and sulk all day or something. Also, did she do anything to remedy her actions? I mean, you wanted her to stay and tried, and she left regardless. Ask her if there was someone when she left. Ask her why it should be okay for her to date around, but when you sleep with other women after she left, it's not okay with that. Well, I'm sure him trying to be logical, going against her emotions, ain't going to work. And you're going to get nothing but bullshitting and gaslighting from her, and that's what she's doing, But, yeah, you should end it with her and move on. But again, this is the point, guys. A man's prime really begins in his 30s. It can go all the way up to his 50s. Really. There are women can see a guy in his 50s. If he looks good, he takes care of himself. The old silver fox, he's doing well for himself. He's got wealth and all that. He's got his life experiences to give him the confidence in who he is. He's built up a great life. That guy can get chicks in their 20s if he wants to. He should absolutely be careful with them. I hope he has a vasectomy because they're going to baby trap his ass, and of course they're going to be with him for what he can provide. But the interesting thing is there are men in their 50s that look good, take care of themselves, the silver foxes, who generally can attract women in their 20s. I've known women in their 20s and 30s that are super attracted to men that are older in their 50s because they have that classy gentleman against silver fox type of thing going for them. Really, Oh, of course, their wealth certainly is beneficial as well. But a gal in her 40s and 50s, good luck getting guys that really want to have a commitment, the type of guys that she feels entitled to. A pretty woman in her 40s and 50s, and yes, you can have pretty women in their 40s and 50s, for their 40s and 50s, can get guys that want to sleep with them. That's not a problem. But the whole commitment thing, that's something else in terms of the guys they really want. So anyhow, good for him. I am glad he didn't sit around pining for her. And 13 chicks, and he's probably not. Something tells me, because I know guys exaggerate, but something tells me that probably is fairly accurate. I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling he's not bullshitting there. And I have his options, so hopefully he handles this right.